Tyler, good afternoon. I just had a question maybe about the process going into the third round. I was wondering whether something may have transpired during the second and third rounds that led to you, instead of stepping up and making the pick, trading back. Just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Well, we thought that the process was happening so quick that we didn't know if we were going to have a lot of time. I'm joking, right? It was a long day. I'm joking. To be honest with you, no, nothing really happened. We didn't have a second, didn't have a fourth. We had an opportunity to go back. We kind of had some names, but you know how this thing works. It's, you go back 15 or 20 spots. You have to have a cluster, a group of guys. And we just thought that, at that stage, we were just going to go back and get the other pick and, just have another crack at another player. So it actually kind of worked out, pretty good for us.
And then the follow-up would be, obviously it's the first time in the history of the club, all forwards across the board, a lot of skill in that group. I'm wondering, was that the game plan all along, or was it a question of, each time you had a selection, it just seemed like the best player was sitting there for you?
Kind of a combination. I think that, organizational needs throughout our organization. I think we've got to add depth up front in the forward position. And you have to draft them, and you have to develop them. Was it our primary focus? No. It just kind of happened that, as we kept going back and, we had some cluster of players and they just happened to be forwards. We had a couple of D in mind and they went. And so it was kind of the primary target, but at the same sense, it kind of helped. It kind of happened just the way the cards fell.
Next question to Reed Wilkins, Ched Radio. Go ahead, Reed, as soon as your microphone's active.
Hi, Andre. Hi, Tyler. Thanks for doing this. I'll ask you about a couple guys specifically. Certainly, Carter Savoy was a very dangerous offensive player in the Alberta Junior Hockey League. So, people would have seen him, and we've been talking about him. What is it about his skill set that you think projects to being an NHLer one day?
Well, when you put the puck in the net 53 times in 54 games or 52 times, whatever the number is, that's the name of the game of hockey is, you try to score, and it's the hardest thing to teach. So, when a kid is offensively gifted like that, you have to recognize that. Now, there's a lot of aspects of his game that, that still need to prove, as all of these young men have to improve. But we really like the skill set, and we kind of had a feeling. We thought maybe he might not be there at that time, and obviously when he was, we made the pick. So obviously the skill set and what he does, he's down in Denver, right now working. We've obviously had some inside intel here from being a local kid that we've kept some pretty good quick tabs on him, through the course of the summer and even since his time down in Denver. So pulled him off. He kind of got pulled off the ice there after practice, and we talked to him. So pretty excited. So it was a good day for him and for us.
And I'm curious about Philip Ingrass, because that is a really interesting journey. Not only that he's 21, but unfortunately he had to sit out a year because of the NCAA rule, which that's a whole other story whether that's fair or not. But what did you see from him? Still being able to be productive after that year away and still going with him as a 21-year-old. That's kind of a different trajectory for him, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And to be honest with you, we weren't really sure if we were going to get him. So it may seem like maybe a shot in the dark or going off the board from a lot of people's standpoint, but within the chatter of the hockey world, people would recognize this kid for sure. And I think he's been tucked away a little bit. Just again, we do a lot of homework on these kids, and we try to, dig into their background. Obviously, had to sit out and, only playing half the games last year. And then with the shutdown and stuff like that. So just intrigued. We don't really look at birth years a ton. Obviously, when they're younger, you have more time to develop them. But he's a 99 born player that, is going to go back to school and will monitor and make a decision and goes from there. He's an interesting prospect for sure.
Next question to Derek Van Diest, Post Media. Derek, as soon as your microphone is active, you can go ahead.
Hi, Tyler. I just want to ask you, maybe going back to Dylan Holloway, what was attractive to you guys about him, and what do you think his progression is going to be, and how soon do you think he might be able to come to Edmonton?
Well, there's a lot of things that I like about him, actually. I think he's going to tell us when he's ready to play. His play and his development's going to dictate that for us. So obviously, the sooner the better for us, but his play will dictate that. He's been on our watch for quite some time now. He's a late birthday. He played in the Avialinka tournament last year. He's been to all the kind of the summer camps, Hockey Canada, and obviously, 40 plus goals or 40 goals in as a 17-year-old in the Alberta Junior League, and then moving on to the University of Wisconsin, head coach in Wisconsin, Tony Granato, worked in Detroit while I was there. Have a relationship with him. The way that we want to look as an organization, we want to be fast. We want to be hard. We want to be physical. We want to be skilled. I think he checks all those, off the board. I think that there's might be some perception out there that maybe, his numbers this year, as far as being, 7 or 8 goals in the NCAA, being the second youngest player in NCAA ice hockey this year. So there's a lot of factors. This guy has scored. He's big, he's competitive, he can skate, and he can really shoot. Can he play center? He can play the wing. I think the sky's the limit really for him. I think he can work his way up and down the lineup in whichever position that our coaching staff will put him in, and I think he'll excel at that. And I think he's got the character that he'll accept it. So there's a lot of things that are attractive, and obviously that's why we stepped up and took him at 14.
Just a quick follow-up on Carter Savoy. I think he was listed as like the 50th skater in North America, and he dropped to 100. When you traded that third-round pick, did you think you would still have a shot at him in the 4th round?
Possibly, but when we also made the pick, or when we made the trade to go back, we also realized that there was a very good chance that he wouldn't be there. So, in this game, like we didn't have a lot of picks today, and we didn't have a lot of opportunity to recoup some picks, and sometimes you have to get a little bit risky. That doesn't mean that we like them any less or any more. We're trying to get value for our picks. We're trying to get value for where we make the picks. Sometimes you gamble and you lose, and sometimes you win, and I think we won on that one.
Excuse me. Next question, Jack Michaels, Ched Radio. Go ahead, Jack.
You mentioned at the outset, Tyler, that it was a long day. And I'm just curious, is there any, thing that comes immediately to mind in the immediate aftermath of a long day that would have affected the draft? Not just for you, but for the other general managers. Did it have a decidedly different feel today than it would when normally these rounds would be wrapped up in 2.5 hours?
Yeah, but you know what? It's a long day. This is the first time we've all gone through this. And, I think, the NHL wants to get it right. We want to get it right. We want to make sure that we take our time. We added a minute on every pick. Normally you have 2 minutes. So now it was 3. So do the math, right? There's 31 picks, in every hour, or every round adds, like, it adds up. You're doing video calls. We're streaming back. People are walking from podium to this podium. They're trying to give the kids the time with their families, and so it's something we've never been through. It's a long day. I don't think it affects the actual outcome of any draft. We're not getting antsy by any chance. You know, I mean, we work our whole year for this day. Realistically, we you know, obviously for last night, it gets a little bit more, you know, press and a little bit notoriety. But at the end of the day, our outcome is we have to find players today. And when we don't find players, then we have problems. So we're focused. We had all our scouts on Zoom calls all through last night and throughout the whole draft today, in constant communication. And, you know, there's 10-hour time change in Russia to whatever. And we got to stay focused and got to get it right.
And the follow-up would be, how much better are you at this today than in your first draft? Whether it be communication with Ken, communication with the other scouts, thinking on your feet. Give me an idea of your own progression.
Well, I think you always progress. I think you start going backwards when you think you have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. I think you learn every day. I think Ken Holland learns every day. I think, you know, every time I go to the rink and I talk to him about stuff, you're trying to learn. You're trying to get better. There's tendencies. I think the biggest thing is, you mean, to be in the positions that we are scouts, and you know, when you're making the pick, and you know, at the end of the day, somebody has to make a decision. And obviously that's myself, and I got to run through that through Ken Holland. I understand the players that Ken wants to build this hockey club. So, I mean, I'll go to Ken, and if it kind of goes against, you know, our draft philosophy or kind of our playbook, he gives us pretty much the rein that we want to do, because we're out there watching these guys, you know, we're just running it through him, you know, to give us, we have tendencies that we want to do and how we want to get them. And I guess there's other teams. Experience is the biggest thing. And I think the more experience you get, I think the more patience you develop. So I think I've become a more patient person. Is that a good thing? We'll find out.
Next up, Derek Van Diest, Post Media. Derek, as soon as your microphone's active, you can go ahead.
Hey, Tyler, I just want to ask you about Tyler Tulio and what do you know about him, and I guess what kind of attracted you to him?
You know, it was kind of funny that, you know, we kept going in there to, you know, kind of watch some higher profile players, and every day we kind of kept walking away from the rink. And it kind of started last year, towards the end of last year, and just said, geez, that Tulio sure, you know, just kind of catches your eye. He's not a very big kid. He's, you know, 5'10", 5'11". He was a little undersized as far as physical maturity. He put some time in the gym this summer, came back, had a heck of a year this year, and he competes. He scores in many different ways. He's finding a way to impact in the game, not just on the score sheet. You know, he goes around the net, he's hacking and whacking and slashing. Like, we liked him. We just think that you can't have too many competitive players, and he's got a skill set that you know, he's improved on in the last couple of years, and obviously that's why we took him.
And just follow up for me, last one for me. I just want to ask you about the dynamics of the scouts. I know each guy has their own guy that they push for, and like, what are those discussions like? Or does it almost come to a point of an argument? Like, when you got to make that pick, and I know everyone's kind of pushing for the guy that they've seen the most, I guess, what's that like, I guess?
Yeah, you know, it's about communication for me, and obviously you know, it's my first draft running here for Edmonton, and with this staff, try to be as transparent as possible, and you know, come to me with ideas, come with me to rounds, and it starts early in the summer. Guys start texting me, I want such and such in the 4th round, I want such and such in the 5th round, and they start planting the seed. And at the end of the day, you have to listen. They're out there doing the work. These later round picks in their areas, they know the best. That's their primary job. Be the expert in your region, whether that's Russia, Finland, you know, the US, wherever, Western Canada. Be that expert. And you know, we have dialogue going back and forth, and I question some stuff. I don't ever try to say that your opinion is wrong, because it's not, because we don't know yet. Try to be as respectful as possible, but at the end of the day, you have to make a decision, and you make a decision and you move on.
Take questions from one final member of the media. We have Kevin Carrius from Global TV. Kevin, as soon as your microphone is active, you can go ahead. Go ahead, Kevin.
Hey, Tyler, just one more with Carter. How many times did you personally see him, and what impressed you the most?
This year, personally, this year or in previous years? Because, you know, I've seen him a lot, obviously. I mean, you know, outside the Alberta Junior League, you know, just saying international hockey with the World Junior A Challenge, you know, up in Dawson Creek. I mean, saw him up there 5-6 times. Saw him in the league probably 4 or 5 times this year. Last year in Detroit, we took a goalie that was out of Sherwood Park. So I've seen him and Benning play a lot, not just only this year, but in previous years.